Michael Corleone, a name that resonates through the annals of both fictional and cinematic history. A name synonymous with power, family, and the intoxicating allure of the American Mafia. The Corleone family, a dynasty built on the foundations of tradition, loyalty, and an unyielding grip on power, was a force to be reckoned with. But Michael was different. He wasn't born into this world of shadows and whispers. He was a war hero, a man of principle, who had earned his stripes on the battlefield, far removed from the clandestine dealings of his family's empire. He wanted a life outside the family business, a life where he could forge his own path, unburdened by the weight of his family's legacy. He envisioned a future where he could be his own man, free from the expectations and demands that came with the Corleone name. He loved Kay, a woman who represented everything he desired: normalcy, love, and a clean slate. With her, he saw a chance to escape, to build a life that was his own, far from the reach of the Corleone family's influence. But fate, as it often does, had other plans. The Corleone family was an empire built on tradition, loyalty, and, let's face it, blood. And such an empire does not easily let go of its own. Michael, the youngest son, was an outsider looking in. He observed the machinations of his family from a distance, always aware of the darkness that clung to their legacy. He saw the darkness that clung to his family's legacy, the shadows that followed them, the whispers that surrounded their every move. He wanted no part of it. He wanted no part of it. He yearned for something more, something beyond the reach of the Corleone family's influence. A life where he could be free, where he could be his own man. He yearned for something more, something beyond the reach of the Corleone family's influence. A life where he could be free, where he could be his own man. But the pull of family, especially one as powerful as the Corleones, is a force as strong as gravity. But the pull of family, especially one as powerful as the Corleones, is a force as strong as gravity. It pulls you back, no matter how far you try to run, no matter how hard you try to escape. And so, Michael found himself drawn back into the fold, reluctantly taking his place within the family he had tried so hard to distance himself from. The reluctant son, now a key player in the very world he had once sought to escape. His journey, a testament to the inescapable bonds of family and the enduring legacy of the Corleone name. His love for Kay, his desire for a different life, all now entangled in the web of power and loyalty that defined the Corleone family. The choices he made, the paths he took, all leading him back to the very place he had tried to leave behind. Michael's story is one of conflict, of a man torn between duty and desire, between the life he wanted and the life he was destined to lead. A story that resonates with anyone who has ever struggled to find their own path in the shadow of their family's expectations. In the end, Michael Corleone's journey is a poignant reminder of the power of family, the weight of legacy, and the inescapable pull of destiny. A reluctant son forever bound to the name Corleone. The attempt on his father's life changed everything. It was a moment that would forever alter the course of Michael Corleone's destiny. The once peaceful and detached life he led was now a distant memory, replaced by a world of shadows and danger. The Corleone family, once a symbol of power and respect, was now vulnerable, teetering on the edge of chaos. Vito Corleone, the godfather, was left vulnerable. The patriarch, who had always been the unshakable pillar of strength, now lay weakened and exposed. His absence at the head of the table was a stark reminder of the fragility of their empire. The family needed a new leader, someone who could navigate the treacherous waters of their world with both cunning and resolve. Michael, fueled by a sense of duty and a simmering rage, stepped in. He was different now. The transformation was palpable. The once reluctant son had embraced his destiny. His eyes, once filled with innocence, now burned with a fierce determination. He was no longer the war hero who had returned home with dreams of a peaceful life. The attack on his father had ignited a fire within him, a fire that would consume anyone who threatened his family. The war hero, the innocent, was gone, replaced by a calculating and ruthless protector. Michael's transformation was not just physical but deeply psychological. The uniform of a soldier had given way to the tailored suits of a mafia leader. The boy who once sought to distance himself from his family's criminal activities was now at the forefront, orchestrating their survival. His mind, once filled with dreams of a different future, was now a labyrinth of strategies and plans to protect his own. He assassinated Solozzo, the man who dared to strike at his family. This was not just an act of revenge, it was a declaration of war. The restaurant, dimly lit and filled with tension, became the stage for Michael's first major act as the new protector of the Corleone family. The moment before he pulled the trigger was a culmination of all the rage, fear, and love he felt for his family. It was a point of no return, a step into a world from which there was no escape. This act, born out of love and desperation, was Michael's point of no return. As he fled the crime scene, the weight of his actions bore down on him. The dark alleyways he navigated were symbolic of the path he had chosen, one filled with danger and uncertainty. His face, a canvas of conflicted emotions, reflected the internal battle he fought. The love for his family had driven him to this point, but the desperation to protect them had sealed his fate. He fled to Sicily, seeking refuge and finding love in the arms of Apollonia. The picturesque countryside of Sicily offered a stark contrast to the violence he had left behind. In Apollonia, he found a brief respite, a momentary escape from the darkness that had enveloped his life. Their romance was a fleeting glimpse of the life he could have had, a life filled with love and peace. The traditional Sicilian village became a sanctuary, a place where he could momentarily forget the bloodshed and betrayal. He tried to hold on to the remnants of the man he used to be. The old photographs and family items were relics of a past that seemed like a lifetime ago. As he stared at his reflection in the mirror, he grappled with the duality of his existence. The man he saw was a stranger, a far cry from the innocent boy who once dreamed of a different future. Nostalgia washed over him, but it was tinged with the bitter realization that there was no going back. But the life he left behind, the enemies he made, followed him like shadows. The menacing figures lurking in the shadows were a constant reminder that he could never truly escape his past. Every step he took was fraught with danger. Every corner he turned held the potential for betrayal. The dark, narrow streets of his new life were filled with hidden threats, and the weight of his decisions pressed heavily on his shoulders. The bombing that killed Apollonia shattered any illusion of escape. It solidified Michael's transformation. The explosion was not just a physical act of violence. It was a symbolic destruction of any hope he had for a different life. As he grieved at the graveyard, the emotional outburst in the desolate place marked the final severing of his ties to innocence. The loss of Apollonia was the final nail in the coffin of his former self, cementing his role as the ruthless leader of the Corleone family. He was his father's son now, forged in violence and loss. The dark suit he wore was a testament to his new identity, a symbol of the power and responsibility he now carried. Standing side by side with his elderly father, the torch had been passed. The reflective moment in the dimly lit room was a silent acknowledgement of the journey he had undertaken. Michael Corleone was no longer just a son, he was the godfather, a man shaped by the fires of violence and the depths of loss. Returning to America, Michael was a changed man. Gone was the idealistic youth. He became a cold, calculating strategist. He was ready to take his place at the head of the family. The weight of his father's legacy, the burden of protecting his family, settled upon his shoulders. He embraced it, for there was no other path for him. His father, Vito, saw in Michael a ruthlessness that he himself possessed in his youth. He saw a leader, a man capable of guiding the Corleone family into a new era. Vito groomed Michael, passing on the wisdom and cunning that had made him a legend. It was a changing of the guard, a transfer of power from one generation to the next. Section 4, Calculated Ascension. Michael's reign as Don was marked by strategic brilliance and cold-blooded efficiency. He understood the shifting landscape of power. He knew that to survive, the Corleone family had to evolve. He moved the family's operations to Las Vegas, seeking legitimacy in the glittering world of casinos and entertainment. He consolidated his power, eliminating rivals with calculated precision. He was always several steps ahead, a chess master playing a deadly game. Michael's ambition knew no bounds. He wanted more than just to preserve his father's empire. He wanted to expand it, to legitimize it. But with each step forward, he drifted further into the darkness. Section 5, Bonds of Blood and Betrayal. Family. Always about family. It was the core of the Corleone legacy, the unbreakable bond. Yet it was also the source of Michael's deepest pain and his ultimate downfall. He loved his brothers Sonny and Fredo, but their relationships were fraught with complexities. Sonny, the hot-headed heir apparent, met a brutal end, leaving Michael to pick up the pieces. Fredo, weak and envious, became a pawn in the hands of Michael's enemies. This betrayal cut Michael deeply, shaking him to his core. He couldn't forgive Fredo. He couldn't forget the ultimate betrayal. The bond of brotherhood, once unbreakable, was shattered beyond repair. Section 6. Love and Loss in a World of Shadows. In the heart of the bustling streets of 1940s New York, amidst the shadows of the Mafia's influence, a tale of love and loss unfolded. This is the story of Michael Corleone, a man torn between two worlds. Kay, his wife, represented the life he could have had. She was the embodiment of normalcy, a glimpse into a future filled with love, family, and simple joys. Their moments together, like dancing at a wedding reception, were filled with laughter and hope. She was the symbol of innocence, a beacon of light in the encroaching darkness of his world. Kay's presence was a reminder of the purity and goodness that still existed, even as the shadows of his family's legacy loomed large. But Michael's choices, his transformation into the ruthless Don Corleone, pushed Kay away. The weight of his decisions, the need to protect his family at all costs, created a chasm between them. He became a man of power and influence, but at the expense of his own heart. Their love story, once filled with promise, became a casualty of his ambition. Arguments replaced their tender moments, and the warmth they once shared turned cold. Kay, heartbroken and disillusioned, walked away, leaving Michael to grapple with the consequences of his actions. The loss of Kay, the woman who saw the good in him even when he couldn't see it himself, left him profoundly alone. He often found himself gazing at photographs of happier times, haunted by the silhouette of the woman who once believed in him. He had everything he thought he wanted: power, wealth, respect, but at a terrible cost. Surrounded by opulence and the trappings of success, Michael felt an emptiness that no amount of power could fill. The respect he commanded came with fear, not love. He had become the very thing he sought to escape, a man trapped in a web of his own making. The darkness that he once fought against had now become his reality. Michael's journey from a hopeful young man to a powerful but isolated figure is a poignant reminder of the price of ambition and the fragility of love. In the end, Michael stood alone, a solitary figure in a vast empty room. The shadows that had once been at the periphery of his life now surrounded him completely. As he looked out at the distant horizon, he couldn't help but wonder what might have been if he had chosen love over power. The memories of his time with Kay, though faded, remained etched in his heart. Each photograph, each memory, was a reminder of the love he had lost. A single tear falling on a photograph symbolized the deep regret and sorrow that he carried with him. As Michael walked away into the shadows, his silhouette disappearing into the darkness, the finality of his choices became clear. The empty room he left behind was a stark representation of the void in his life. Love and loss in a world of shadows, a story of what could have been and what was lost forever. Section 7. The Devil's Bargain. Michael's rise to power came at a steep price. With each calculated decision he made, with each life he took or ruined, he lost a part of himself. The war hero, the man who once believed in honor and justice, was buried beneath layers of cynicism and ruthless ambition. He made deals with corrupt officials, aligned himself with ruthless criminals. He justified his actions as necessary evils, sacrifices he had to make to protect his family. But the truth was, he had become adept at compartmentalizing his conscience. He had made a deal with the devil, and the devil always collects his due payment.